Welcome to Loud and Clear, a program geared toward the younger generations. You can listen in every Thursday at 7 p.m. or find the plug to our YouTube channel on kgtcradio.com.
Welcome to Loud and Clear. I'm Carlos.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Paris.
You weren't supposed to do that. So he kind of just gave it away.
Yeah. This is supposed to be a surprise.
You're supposed to be clocked in.
I am.
Can we restart?
No, you don't restart that. You run with that.
Yeah, no, this is a youth program. We can do whatever we want.
So,
I've got him off his game.
I'm completely lost. Thank you for that, Paris. I appreciate that. So, obviously, we have Paris, Ragan with us, and I was gonna do this formal introduction and be like, oh, this guy's pretty cool, and he does this and he does that. But since he's already spoke, Paris, who are you?
Yeah, no, it's truly an honor to be here with you guys today. I'm a youth pastor in Baton Rouge. I minister at Family Worship Center, Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. Our Crossfire youth ministry. It's a worldwide youth ministry. So we literally are ministering to the world. I'm also a professor at a Bible college, Jimmy Swaggart Bible College, and host Generation of the Cross television program for Sunlight Broadcasting Network, and on a couple of other programs at the ministry as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. No, it's a pleasure to have you. My wife and I, we watch you a lot on television, and we encourage our teens to watch you because I think that the way you preach and the way that you break things down make it really simple to understand. And so I love that about you. So it's our pleasure to have you with us tonight. So I wanted to kind of ask you a couple questions. I don't have anything written down, so this is going to be very kind of fast probably. But I want to know a little bit about your testimony.
Yeah,
if you could kind of.
Sure. When I was a kid, I was born into a Pentecostal holiness church. It's in Collinsville, Virginia. No one's ever heard of that. But raised in Henry, Virginia, we went to church in Collinsville at Collinsville Pentecostal Holiness Church. And my parents ended up leaving that church when I was about 12 years old. Around 12, I was outside dribbling a basketball at my house, and just picked it up, started to look around, was kind of tired, and was just taking a little bit of a break. And I heard a voice come into my spirit, and that voice said, I'm going to use you to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. And, what do you do with that at 12? I mean, my world is this little neck of the woods in Henry, Virginia. Had no idea what that really meant, really didn't even know what to do with that. I wish that I could say that I took that word and hid it in my heart and was waiting on the day that God would, use me to do something like that. And but I didn't. I ran from God, and my mother ran from God. My dad, he had his struggles, but he was born again out of drug addiction and alcoholism. And real drug addiction and real alcoholism. And God really did a miracle in his life. That's my son Oliver that you hear whining back there in the back. He just wanted to be on the program tonight too.
Yeah.
So,
special guest.
Yeah, he's a real special guest.
Yeah. And but anyway, ended up running from the Lord. I was a baseball player, loved the game. Was able to get a small Division II scholarship to play baseball. And that's where things really get bad for me. I was depressed. I didn't like the person that I was because the person that I was running from God. And I started to pour alcohol into that. Baseball had been the one thing that I gave everything to that sport, and I'm not kidding. I gave everything to it, ate it, slept it, dreamt it. You know how it goes. And baseball turned itself on me, and kind of turned its back on me. And what I'd really been good at all of my life was no longer good at. I had a great freshman year. went and played baseball in Schenectady, New York over the summer, and that's where everything kind of came off the rails. And so the one thing I've been good at kind of turned itself on me. So that adds to the depression, right? And still pouring alcohol into all of this. Started dating a girl in my sophomore year. We're kind of like, what's that phrase? Oil and water. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to try to, we just had this fascination with each other that we couldn't like let go. But we really didn't mix. And it was rough. We cheated on each other. We were really terrible to each other, terrible for each other, but we couldn't leave each other alone. Yeah. And so we were back and forth, on again and off again, and things were really that made the depression worse. Yeah. And still pouring alcohol into all of this. And man, I would drink not to enjoy the night. I would drink to forget the night. Yeah. And blackout drunk every time I touched alcohol. Blackout drunk. Wow. Would spend the next day talking to people who are my friends, people that I had partied with that night, trying to piece together what had taken place the night before. And then we'd go back the next night and do it all over again. And it was just a rough way of living. And kept running. And all the while, man, God is really dealing with me. I'm asking this question. God, if you're real, show me. Yeah. If you're real, prove it to me. And just hoping that God would, and not really knowing that God will, And I keep doing this. I get into my senior year, or it's the summer before my senior year, and this is really the height of my depression. I mean, I'm talking about sitting in a parking lot thinking about running the car up as fast as I could get it and hitting a tree at the bottom of the parking lot, right? And just hoping that would end everything. Yeah. And so depression, suicidal thoughts, and alcohol. And it's not a good mixture, right? Not a good mix. And so my mom is looking at me and she's like, Paris, you need psychological help. I want you to go see a psychologist. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go see a psychologist. What are you talking about? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'm not doing it. And she said, no, you need help. And so, I mean, I'm looking at churches, I'm reading the Bible, and I can still see it in my mind's eye, laying on my parents' couch, weeping, because I'm reading the book that everybody says is supposed to help you. Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense to me. And so that makes the depression worse. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It made it worse. And it doesn't make any sense. Like the Bible should help. But the Bible won't help an unregenerate heart. Yeah, that's good. An unsaved heart, an unredeemed heart. The Bible can't help. And I keep pushing away, and I keep driving deeper into sin, deeper into depression, deeper into the alcohol. I go back to school. Well, my mom tells me, let me add this quickly. She said, you need to go back to that church we left when we were still living for God. And so I did. And walked into that church. As soon as I crossed the threshold of that church, I sensed the presence of God. It was overwhelming. I began to weep, literally sitting at the door of this church. These people don't even know me, Yeah. The pastor knows me. A few of the people that were there when I was a kid, they know me. But everyone else kind of like, what is going on with this guy, And walk into the church weeping. Sit through the service weeping. Go down to the altar weeping. And I guarantee you that there are people listening to us today who have experienced this, had emotional encounters with God. Yeah. And I get into the car. I go back home. I go to my mom. I'm still weeping. I said, Mom, you need to make things right with God. That night she goes to church. That night she rededicates her life to the Lord. Truly born again, truly transformed, truly changed. And it's evident in her life. But even though I've had this emotional encounter with God, I've not been transformed. I've not been changed. And you can have emotional encounters with God and not be transformed and not be changed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. An emotional interaction at church is not evidence that you've truly given your life to Jesus. What we're looking for is change. And I didn't have that. I go back to school. I go right back into partying. I go right back into drinking. The thing that's different now is that every night I drink, I talk about Jesus. I can't stop thinking about him. Like, here's the truth, man. I was tormented by Christ. Yeah. Isn't that a crazy thought? Yeah. Like, I was tormented by the name Jesus. I would drink and I would talk about him. I would wake up and I'd think about him. I'd go to bed and I'd be thinking about him. But I just didn't really know what that was supposed to mean for my life, you know. And my mom would call me and we would talk, and she'd say, "Hey, Paris, you know, you can't keep drinking and call yourself a Christian." That's what she would say. And I had really good country music theology. And I would say, you know, I know Jesus. He drank wine. So I know he'd be cool with me drinking. And my mom would say, "Paris, you really don't know what you're talking about. You need to quit drinking. God's not pleased with your life." And, you know, we'd fight every time we talk. One day my mom calls me and she says, she sends me a text. And she said, "Paris, you got to quit drinking. Read Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 1. And you need to stop drinking." Now, I'm going out partying that night. I don't want to hear it. Right? I don't want to know what that verse says. I don't want to think about that verse. I don't want any part of it, because if God really doesn't like what I'm doing, I don't want to feel bad when I'm out doing it, you know? Yeah. And so I ignore it. And we about a month, maybe month and a half goes by, and I go out to the liquor store. My phone's in my pocket. I'm not looking at it. I had a password that you had to enter in to get into the phone. I get home. I sit down in our recliner. I put the case of beer down beside me, and I'm back at college now. I'm with the guys. We're getting ready to party that night, and I pull my phone out, and the passcode's opened up on its own. The Bible application is opened up on its own, and it's opened up to chapter 20 of the book of Proverbs in verse 1, and it said, "Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whosoever is deceived thereby is not wise. For the fear of the king is as the roaring of a lion, and whoever provokes him to anger sins against his own soul." That's verse 2. And right there in that room, two things happened. God answered a question I'd asked all my life. If you're real, show me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was no question in my mind on this day. God is real. Jesus Christ is who he said he was. He died, he's alive, and he just talked to me, right? And secondly, God convicted me of the lifestyle that I was living. God validated the claims my mom had been making. Yeah. "I'm not pleased with your drinking. I am the king. It is a sin." And this is not something that a lot of people talk about when they get saved, but this is what God told me. "I'm angry with you." You know, we love to tell people when we're trying to lead them to Christ that God loves them. Yeah. But the truth is, and he does love you, but he's angry with your sin. Yeah. He hates your sin, but he does love you. Yeah. And he did love me. He proved that to me by proving that he was real, right? But he also spoke to me and said, "Your sin makes me angry. I hate it." And I wish I could tell you that on that day, I rededicated. I gave my life to Jesus, but I didn't. I kept running and running hard. And I got to a place where I had made such a fool of myself that my best friends, they looked at me and they said, "Man, you can't live with us anymore." Wow. I'd actually tried to fight my roommate while I was drunk one night. And I was just making a fool out of myself. So sin had taken baseball away. Sin had taken my best friends away. Sin had taken the relationship that I wanted away. Sin had destroyed everything about my life. Mm-hmm. and I'm at the end of myself, and I'm up in a volleyball suite. We had baseball suites, basketball suites, girls basketball suites, volleyball suites, and I'm up in the volleyball suite. I'm with my buddy. I'm with his girlfriend. And like I said, I'm drinking. I'm talking about Jesus, and I start talking about Jesus, and I'm drunk. And the girl that's in that room, she's Catholic. She starts to talk to me. She starts to explain Catholicism to me, what that looks like. And just out of nowhere, I said, there's no sinful man on this earth who can absolve me of my sins. Those words came out of my mouth. Had no idea what that even meant. No clue what that even meant. But what I did know is that man can't make my sin go away.
Yeah.
Talking to some man is not going to make my sin go away. And I said this right after that. There's one mediator between God and man, and his name is Jesus Christ. This girl who I've known her since I got to college. We're both in our senior years. And she runs out of the room crying. Her boyfriend, who's a friend, who's a baseball player, he looks at me and he looks like he's ready to kill me. I just made his girlfriend cry. You know what he says to me? He says something that I'll never forget. He said, Paris, he said, where I come from, I knew where he came from. He said, where I come from, we don't talk about what we believe. I was like, dude, in my head, I thought, you don't believe it. If you believe it, you would talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't really believe it. And I looked down, and in my hand, there's a bottle of Bud Light. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and he said, Paris, what are you doing here? Now, that year, I got an internship with the Federal Probation Office. And at that internship, I met a secretary. And that secretary had seen my struggle. And I had told her, I've been going to this church, that church, and I'm not finding anything. And she said, I know the church you need to go to. You need to go to Rivers of Living Water Ministries in Elkins, West Virginia. My sister is the wife of the pastor of this church, and I think it's what you're looking for. And, I remembered that night. And I said, Lord, I'll go to that church in the morning. And I woke up the next morning. I went to that church. I walked in, and immediately the presence of God is just overwhelming me. I'm convicted of my sin. I know Jesus is the solution. Tears are streaming down my face. Sweat is pouring down my face. I smell like what I was doing last night. I'm embarrassed of the life that I'm living, and probably what people can smell off of me, And I said, Lord, if you'll deliver me from alcohol and tobacco, I'll give you the rest of my life. And right there, just like that, in a moment, the Spirit of God rushed into my heart. The Spirit of God transformed my life. Alcohol, tobacco, gone. A can of Copenhagen Straight is what I was chewing at the time I got saved. One can was 4 dips for me. It's pretty nasty, right?
Yeah.
And I was the guy that's opening up the window, throwing the can out, and would be at the grocery store or at the convenience store before I got home to buy a new can. I went home, I walked into my room, I grabbed the Copenhagen Straight, the log that was on my counter, and I threw it away, never touched it again. I went to the refrigerator, grabbed all of the alcohol at it, threw it away, never touched that stuff again. And truly, I've been born again. My life had been changed. And, man, it's been, and 1 week after that, I had a dream. And in that dream, I was in the sphere. At the time, to me, it looked like a ball, but it was a sphere. And now I truly believe it's what Ezekiel saw in his vision. It was representative of the throne of God. And I was inside of this thing, and it was carrying me. Man, I love God, man. It's carrying me from country to country to country, proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that word that God spoke to me at 12 years old came back.
Wow.
I'm going to use you to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world. And God called me down to Bible college in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Jimmy Swaggart Bible College, became a student there. Within 3 years, I was teaching night classes at that college. That opened a door for me to preach in chapels. The president of the college was listening to me preach in chapel, and he went to our youth pastor, Gabriel Swaggart, Jimmy Swaggart's grandson, and he said, "You need to hear this kid preach." That opened a door for me to preach in Crossfire. Pastor Gabe, the next week after I preached my first message in Crossfire, he came, and let me say this, that sermon fulfilled the prophecy that God spoke over me, not a man, right? A man can speak, but God spoke. Yeah. And it fulfilled that word. I preached in front of a camera that literally, through Sunlight Broadcasting Network, was aired in over 100 countries around the world. And the next week, Pastor Gabe pulled me and my wife into a room, and I thought he hated it, and he's going to tell me how terrible I did and how to get it right, and maybe even tell me, "Hey, man, you're not cut out for this," you know? Or I thought, if it's not that, then he'll work me into the rotation type thing. And he pulled us aside and he said, "I am just going to tell you, because I can't really explain this to you, Paris." He said, "So I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened when you were preaching." He said, "When you were preaching, the Spirit of God came all over me. And as soon as you open up the Bible, the Spirit of God came on me, and the Spirit of God said to me, 'That is your replacement. Train him well.'"
Wow.
And Pastor Gabe, I owe, all of my ministry to him. And grateful for him and Brother Larson, Joseph Larson's father, who's been preaching here with me at this conference. He was the president of the college, so speaking to Gabe, right? And so I owe a lot to him as well. But just grateful for what God's done in my life. The truth about it is that if you will surrender to God, there is absolutely no limitations on what God can do through your life, man.
That's so cool. I've heard your testimony a couple of times, but to hear it in person is amazing. If you're out there and maybe your struggle isn't alcohol, maybe it's not tobacco or any of those, but you know that you don't know God. Like Paris said, if you will just cry out. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be Christianese. It doesn't have to be any of that. If it's as simple as "God help me,"
yes,
He will help you immediately. It's not. He doesn't take his time. He doesn't shake his head. He just immediately helps you. And so if you are listening and that's you, you can cry out and God can transform your life. He will deliver you. He will save you. He will turn you from a mess to a message. He will do what you've been longing for. That is God's promise. That's not a man's promise. That's not my promise. That's not Paris's promise. That's God's word. And I just wanted to encourage you with that. Nathan, do you want to say anything really quick before we wrap up?
It's powerful, and it's amazing, and it's absolutely true. God can meet you exactly where you're at.
Amen. We are running out of time, but we will pick it up on the next one.
Tune in to Loud and Clear every Thursday at 7 p.m. or listen online at kgtcradio.com.